Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to this week's edition of Davis and Chace. Josh Chace, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. If you've been watching the Patreon, which I don't know if you joined the Patreon. You did join the Patreon, but have you joined
I
the
did.
the Facebook group?
I have not. Are you supposed to send me an invite for that, or is there a link in the Patreon? How do I do that, man?
Well, Tech Corner, it actually comes in the pre-created welcome email.
Nobody reads that shit.
Yeah, I've noticed that because I have to reach out to everybody and I say, thank you for joining. Did you join the group yet? And they say no. But thank God I bothered making a thank you video and a thing. But in there, I posted that my Mac arrived. I have not bought a new computer. I'm going to say 20 years. The last time I remember buying a brand new off the shelf, as it were, computer was when I was on the road. We've talked a little bit about this. So that's 15 years on the road for XM radio and whatever. Made a few bucks. And I bought a computer. At that time, it was like $400. Was like a lot for a desk for a PC. Anyway, I was by the used Macs. They do great. They last a long time. But being a content creator, now official full-time content creator, buy a new fucking machine, and I'm in love with it, Josh. Everything is faster. Everything is more efficient. I can log in with touching my finger or type my password in.
Gross.
Why is that gross?
I was just making a comment. So,
what are you looking at? Discord? Pay attention, Josh. It's me.
I'm not. I've been out of the office for several days, Matt. I'm catching up.
How many Slack channels are you on at work?
Way too fucking many Slack channels. If I had to look really quickly, 40, easy. We have a great one, not at our office, but we have a great one at our corporate office that I just kind of sit in because it's funny. And the Slack channel is called Free Food. And it's just from all the floors at like the corporate tower at work, people will post when there's like leftover free food so that the swarms of people will just come take it and you don't have to get rid of all this free food. So,
okay, I'm going to go complete sidetrack corner, Josh.
There's a shocker.
Before blogs existed, okay, I started writing these like mini things that I didn't like know what to do with. I guess blogs maybe. When did blogs become a thing? Oh, something?
Yeah.
So you're talking, so early internet, 99, 2000, 2001, when I was in Boston, I remember writing, like I had this thought, I'm like, I should write a thing about it, right? And I wrote about like corporate stuff because I had a crappy temp job. And so I did this whole thing on free food. And like, doesn't matter what it is, people will eat it. Like as soon as you hear at that time, free food in the conference room, right? That's probably the name of somebody's album, I'm sure by now.
Probably.
You would go. And then I had a thing on birthdays, like all the kind of stuff that like, this isn't new. Like there's been a lot of like comedy written about it. But anyway, I could have been fucking Bill Simmons, man. I could have been writing blogs in 2000, but I didn't quite have the like savvy to do that.
I was writing blogs in 2000, I think.
You were?
Yeah.
You were ahead of the blog curve?
Yeah. I was a live journal kid for a while.
I was going to say Angel Fire. Remember Angel Fire?
Angel Fire, GeoCities. Like
GeoCities, motherfucker. GeoCities dropping it. Bam!
Yeah. Sorry for if I fucking cough and miss a mute, but dude, it's a busy. Championships are done. The news cycle doesn't end. Spartan pulled an OCRWC after OCRWC, dropped news on them the Monday after friggin' Worlds. Like there's a lot of stuff happening right now. I'm loving it.
Okay. I mean, there's so much. We got jazz flutes. We got to leave. We should probably start on your trip and your successful attempt at a mini King of Swingers. What was the name of that obstacle?
I think it was just called Swing-a-Ding or Swingers or something like that.
Well, they should try to be a little bit more original, but okay.
How do you know they didn't have it first, Matt?
Oh, Jesus.
Listen, you can't just throw shit out into the atmosphere without having any, knowledge about it.
So the attempt that we broadcast that was sent to me by, I'll go look in a minute or I'll forget. We got two attempts. We got a miss and a make. How many was that actually?
It was just the two. So
Okay,
it was Jorge or George. I don't know how he pronounces it. Estevez. So the funny part is I come up to this Kingdom Swingers. I'm just going to call it that because I know people can relate to that. And I'm standing at it and I'm doing my whole fucking nervous wreck, like touching the thing, turning around, walking away. And then I look over and there's this guy filming me. He's like, I'm going to send this to Matt if you don't do this. He's got fucking moles everywhere. So yeah, King of Swingers was essentially you swing out, and there is normally a bell hanging, but they put some tubes around the bell so that people didn't like grab the bell and rip the thing off. So all you have to do is like touch this tube, and it rings the bell inside. So me being my giant lanky ass self, I finally work up the testicular fortitude to go do this. And I was like, I don't need to swing with any momentum. I'm super tall. I can just go and touch the thing. I look at the video. I missed that thing by a fucking mile the first attempt.
Right.
And then I was just waiting around because I knew Molly was about a half an hour behind me on the course. So I was hanging out in that section of the course, trying to stay warm. I'm like shivering. So she comes through and she does it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give it another try. Do it a second time, and boom, nailed it the second time. So yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was, that course was, I don't even know how to put it into words. It was like that type of racing we don't get out here at all. The mud, the old school, like rugged looking obstacles covered in dirt and mud, made up of old ass tires. It was like stupidly muddy out there. And we did this rec bag drag that I swear to God, if they took that exact obstacle and did it here in the States, people would collectively lose their fucking minds. They would have been so miserable. They would have been attacking the race director after the event. Like, this obstacle is stupid. Like, just for an example, we had 50-pound rec, and we had to carry them through these trenches, right? Muddy trenches. So you got to get down into the trench, throw your rec bag up to the next hill, climb up this disgusting muddy trench. It's like Mud Mile for Tough Mudder, but give people a rec bag to carry through it. And then on top of that, they had this crawl underneath these nets. So like, what is it? The Devil's Beard or whatever they do at Tough Mudder. So like that thing covered in mud. The net is covered in mud. There's like 6 inches of mud you're dragging your rec bag through. And the nets aren't just like thrown on the ground and you can toss them above your head. Right. They're like stapled to the ground. So you're like, Matt can see me, you're like having to get down and like peel your head under this disgusting muddy net.
That's what ends up happening at World's Toughest. It's something that we've discussed before. People think the water obstacles are the hardest. It's always something super simple like Devil's Beard that every time you come to it, you're like, oh my God, I got to use my whole body. This really sucks. So I actually did see the video, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I made the note because I knew it was worth mentioning. Mudstickle, which has been the bar setter in terms of turning around OCRWC videos the last 5 years. Like you go to bed Saturday and like there's already one up, and they just show the recap, but without actually like, it's literally a guy at the beginning saying, we're about to show you the men's race. And then they kind of show it. And then at the end, he goes, that was the men's race. Here's who won. And I just feel like if you're going to bother to do that, just take 30 seconds and talk to John Albin. Like, just give me a little bit of stuff. And again, I'm super impressed that they turn around so quick. I know they're down staff. At one point, it was a full-time job for Pete, the guy who started it, and a couple other people. Now it's a part-time job, no paid positions. I get you working really hard. Am I alone in this? People maybe chime in. Do you enjoy watching those, or would you like it doesn't have to be tons of interviews, just a little bit, like, hear John say, yeah, I really struggled on that thing while we're watching him go through it, rather than just, or a graphic, so-and-so in first, so-and-so in second. I don't know. Did you watch those?
I didn't. I didn't even watch them this year. All right. I honestly, like, for me, I was just as excited to go to London and do the tourist thing. So I didn't spend a ton of time at the venue, and I didn't spend a ton of time on social media because my signal was a little whack. Enable automatic sorting. No, don't turn that on.
I do want to turn it on. It's going to move everything checked to the bottom.
Yeah, but we have like 6 months of lists there, so you don't know what the hell it's going to do. It could reorganize the whole thing.
Josh, that's a thinker. That's a thinker right there.
Yeah. Anyway,
good call.
Going back to things that our listeners care about. I was at the venue, but the venue was a muddy mess. Like everything was a shit show there, like in a great way. So I didn't spend a ton of time.
And well, listen, it just, I almost feel bad even mentioning it, but I saw a note. I felt like saying it. I think I've told you before, Savage Race was exactly that at our Georgia venue for years. Like watching you, like really shitty. It's overcast. It's dismal. It's really muddy. That honestly, like when it's nice now at the Savage Race here, I kind of like, even though I enjoy not freezing the whole day and it's a better festival experience, I kind of do miss, because that's like you described. That's a real, they like their mud and obstacles over there. It's a whole different vibe. I wish I'd gone.
Yeah, I was super happy I went, and the obstacles there were like not just the new stuff that they built specifically for OCR Worlds, but like, some of the obstacles they have there. They have this one called Kingfisher, which is like a arced monkey bar that you climb essentially up and out, and it dangles over this water, and you have to drop on a platform when you finish it. I mean, the obstacles there were intense. The Tyrolean was like 100+ feet. They had this thing called Minions, which is just a knotted rope that you're swinging over a mud pit, and there's little like fishing buoys in the water that you think you can stand on, but they really can't hold you, so you just fall in the water there. Like, it was intense, man. That by the end of the first day, which was the 3K, my hands felt like they felt after 3 days at NORAD. I mean, I got just blisters and torn up hands the first day, and I lost my band both Friday and Saturday, and I've never had so much fucking fun like losing my band. It was awesome.
Did you wear your gloves? How did your gloves do?
So I brought out just my shitty like grippy garden gloves, but the problem is the rain there. No matter what it is, like unless it's a rope, those gloves aren't going to do it. Coach Sid or whatever the guy's name is that puts this on, he built that thing Sabertooth, which is like Sawtooth from Savage, but it's like a W. Kind of you go down the monkey bar or you go up the monkey. It's like an M. You go up monkey bars, down the monkey bars, up the monkey bars, down the monkey bars, and it's all metal and scaffolding. So I mean, you either got the grip or you don't got the grip. So of all the things that killed me, that snake pit obstacle is the thing that took my band on Friday. That was just hanging ropes that you had to traverse sideways. So, but I was just wrecked by all the other obstacles that were there. So anybody that did last year and got those like sunny days, you got lucky. Count your blessings, because this year was a totally different story. And it killed almost all the Americans. Like, look at all the Americans that dropped out or didn't finish well, without Brian Atkins aside, but like the Europeans came and crushed it, because this is what they do. This is what they train.
Not if you look at the comments from my post.
What about it?
I said Europeans dominate because I saw them get like 8 out of the first 10 spots. And people were like, what are you talking about? 2 Americans did go to the podium. I'm like, okay, but look at the rest of the fucking field.
2 Americans.
Right.
Europeans. Like, I don't do a lot of math.
Did you not read my comment? Did you not? Well, you were busy at the race. Yeah, I got clearly it was a thing. I got it wrong.
Clearly. Yeah, I mean, America is infallible, so how dare we admit that we may not be as great at this sport in some areas as we think we are. So,
and then someone's like, well, duh, it was over there, so of course they did. It's like, okay, but that like,
okay,
like Ryan and Lindsay aren't American, so they win in America. Like, I mean, how is that a thing?
Also, why do you have to get mad about it and dispute it? Like, is it a big? I'm psyched that they all won. Like Karen Carlson and all them, and I talked to Leon after the race. Those guys, I want them to win, because I want nothing against what we see here, but we only see in our little American bubble the same athletes over and over again, and most of them we see at Spartan Race. So I would love to see more athletes get their names out there, get on podiums, get exposure. Like. Whereas other people like, ugh, Ryan didn't win. Like, ugh, I don't care. So,
I hope that's not the case. I honestly hadn't even thought of it that way. I just thought I just thought people were doing what they do on the internet, which is to just pick fights or make me wrong. I wasn't even thinking of it like sort of like anti-American or anti-European sentiment. But no, it's great. It's great for the sport. You know, we used to say that they were like 2 years behind us in terms of like the curve, but I don't know. It feels like they're ahead of us.
Well, it's just different over there. And I was listening to your interview with Aaron and Nicole on the way in, and you know, Aaron constantly make these little quips and remarks about, you know, it's amazing when you can have a race where obstacles matter, right? Like their obstacles fucking matter, and they're the primary function of obstacle course racing in Europe. Whereas here, running and mountain climbing matter, and the obstacles are just an afterthought. Like the obstacles in the US, there isn't a single one that is very hard, right? They might be challenging, they might be difficult, but are they very hard? Absolutely not. But like, go do some of the obstacles that were in London this past weekend and do them in those conditions, and you know, I guarantee you get a reality check. So I think people that train Spartan and things like that went over to OCR Worlds learned the hard way that their training is not right for that type of course.
Or they don't even go.
Or they probably don't even go, to be honest. I mean, there wasn't a lot of Spartan T-shirts out there and things like that. So,
but isn't that kind of refreshing too?
100%. I mean, it honestly is. Like, if I have to hear somebody talk about, well, Killington 2016 was like way harder, because like, you know, it's like a one-upmanship at all times. Like, oh, I ran the Quebec race. Well, I ran the Killington race. Well, I ran Wintergreen back in the day, and nothing was harder than that. Like, okay. So yeah, it was super refreshing, and it's, you know, good crowds, cool experience, met a ton of great people, met a ton of people that listen to the show, man. I don't know if he sent you a message, but I met your British mate, Graham. He's like, your friend Graham, he said he knew you or he talks to you. He's like, yeah, I'm Matt's British chap, Graham. So he came over and shook my hand. He's like, love all the content you guys do. And I met a bunch of people out on the course. So yeah, it was.
They're all named Graham. They're all named Graham or Ian over there.
Okay, Graham or Ian, got it. So yeah, it was a great time.
Well, I have planned. I planned a UK pilgrimage for years. It will one day happen, but OCR Worlds is coming back to Vermont. I already put down a deposit on my place, so I will see you there.
Hell yeah!
As long as we can get a media pass.
What do you want to talk about
next? Okay, what's next? What's next, Josh?
I don't know. I don't have the thing in front of me. Do I have to pull this up?
Okay, I have to talk about this, Josh. Have to. The signal in my house is garbage, Josh. We're in the back of our house, okay? Right?
Okay.
And it is constantly garbage, okay? We're resetting.
That does nothing, Matt. Stop resetting your modem. It does nothing.
How can you tell me that?
Well, if the signal isn't getting to your device, restarting the modem isn't going to magically fucking boost your signal, okay? All right, let's do some tech corner work for you, like Uncle at holiday time that always complains about his service to me. Where's the modem in your house right now?
It's at the front of the house.
Okay, well, put it in the central part of the house.
Okay, because that's where everybody wants their modem, in the fucking kitchen.
Well, yeah, everybody wants Wi-Fi signal throughout the house.
So why have I lived for 3 months or 6 months with no problem, and then a week of constant problems?
What have you changed?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying, Josh. Nothing.
You've changed something.
We watched.
You have a new laptop. Is it only happening on the laptop?
No, we watched. The bedroom is in the back of the house. Okay.
Okay.
The modem and the first TV. For a while, we were a one TV household. Okay, or in the front of the house. Okay, so works. Now it's not working. Constantly saying there's no signal. We end up using our phone, which like I'm okay doing, like because we've got the what do you call it? You know, the hotspot thing, which supposedly slows your phone down after a certain amount of months, or gigabytes, but I haven't even noticed. But Josh, something's happening, and you can't tell me. That's like saying resetting your computer doesn't change anything. Of course it does.
Well, those are two totally different analogies, Matt. So
no one should. So why is it the first fucking thing they tell you to do is to unplug everything when you call your idiots at Xfinity? Why is it the first thing they always tell you?
We don't do that, Matt.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't. We have a fucking app to do it if you have a problem with it. Like, if whatever. I'm not going to have this conversation with you here. Put your modem in a central location in the house if you want central and equally distributed Wi-Fi in your house. Until you do that, I'm not going to have this conversation with you.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. Let's just back up a little bit. Okay.
Fine.
The other solution is they want to sell me something.
We could sell you something.
Well,
but it's not going to solve your problem.
Well, let me just tell you, I wish I had it handy because one of the options is to solve your problem by text. So Stacy did this option, and the guy would not stop. I don't know if it's a bot or not, but the bot or the human would not stop trying to sell us this thing.
Is it pods?
He kept saying, "Do you want to buy a fucking thing?" And she was like, "Nope." But this is happening. He's like, "You sure you don't want to buy this thing?" I'm trying to be a fan of yours. I'm trying to be a fan of Xfinity.
No, you're being closed-minded and you're not responding to actual solutions just because they're inconvenient for you at this current point in time. Okay? You want equal Wi-Fi throughout your house, put the fucking modem in a central location where it'll distribute Wi-Fi throughout your house. If it's in your kitchen, sure, that sucks. Find a different spot for it then.
That's the middle of my house.
Well, then that's where it should be. Because when you go through and you troubleshoot with our gateways, right? I'm going into our app, right? And we have this little troubleshooting thing that says Wi-Fi FAQs, right? How can I get the best Wi-Fi signal? You know what the first thing they tell you to do is? Put the modem in a central location in your home.
Okay, Josh, I'm going to do that, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to put the Wi-Fi in the center. I'm going to put it in the fucking kitchen. And when my children spill things on it and it electrocutes them and they're dead, I'm sorry. All right, fine. You could have picked the topic. You didn't fucking...
I'm going to pull up the damn topics now so I don't have to listen to this garbage.
All right. Should we talk about Kipchoge? Or is that moment past already?
No, because I also saw that somebody posted in Discord that one of the women at the Chicago Marathon also set a record. So I think it's very valid that we talk about Mr. Kipchoge.
Well...
I caught a lot of flack on this. I was catching up on Discord on the flight home. I caught a lot of flack on this, and I don't understand why people don't get it.
Well, it's actually been in every running group that I'm in. And, people are discoursing about it. There's, 100 comments, probably 50-50, maybe 70, maybe 60-40 in favor. So I guess, my take is it's awesome. It's fast.
Oh, God.
Josh just started watching the Queen's coronation. I don't know what that was. It's fast. It's awesome. But it's not a world record, and it's not acknowledged as a world record. So I don't see what the point is. They said it's not an official. There are world records and Olympic records. Like there's two things that we keep track of in the running categories, right? Fastest anyone ever done this, and then fastest at the Olympics, because that's, stakes are high. Just like there's, separate records for most passing yards in a game, the Super Bowl, right? I guess is the best equivalent. So no one's denying he's a badass. No one's denying he's a super fast human. But that laser thing, it honestly just threw me off. Because remember the last time we had this conversation and someone said there was a car. I was like, there wasn't a car. And I didn't realize, like, there's a fucking car.
There was an actual car projecting lasers onto the ground.
Lasers! and it feels like, I can't think of any other way to say it, but it just feels like a boost. It feels like a boost over the wall. Like, there's a fucking laser, man.
That's what it is. It's no different than saying, and I don't have like a perfect analogy for this, but like I go to golf, right? The way they test distance on golf clubs and golf balls is to fucking put the golf club in the little robot arm and then tee the golf ball up, and they only do it in perfect scenarios where actually I was going to circle back to your Wi-Fi in a second.
Awesome.
They put the golf club on a robot arm and they swing it in like the perfect swing, and they hit the ball in the perfect spot, and they say this club reduces slices, reduces hooks, adds 15 yards to your ball. In the most perfect scenario that will never fucking happen in real life. And my whole take on this guy is, you are an amazing athlete. The fact that you can run that speed and hold that pace for 26 miles, all of it's amazing. But this whole, like, under 2 hour marathon thing is just a PR move. And you set up a perfect you can't replicate this situation in real life. It won't happen in real life because so many other factors. You set it up on the most flat, ridiculous course that it ever existed in the history of marathons. You have pacers. You have a draft car putting fucking lasers on the ground in front of you. You have a guy riding beside you with a bike to hand you your liquid so you don't have to slow down or anything. You're an amazing athlete. You are incredibly fast. You are not a sub 2 hour marathon runner.
No, it will happen, but it won't be 1:59:40. It'll be like 1:59:59, right? Or 1:59:58 will probably be the first one in a real race. And I do think hey, someone did it, so now it's possible thing, like, that's great. And I think that's what that first one did, the breaking 2 that we all saw. And he was like, hey, I got 8 seconds away. The universe can do the rest, or whatever the quote. Somebody said something about a home run derby, which is the worst analogy I think I've possibly heard, because no one calls a home run derby home run historic. And that was my issue, was like, well, just like they do in the home run derby, it's like, no one's calling them historic. The word history was said, like I said, 50 times in the, I only watched 12 minutes, right? The 12-minute videos. And notice, by the way, the SEO whores of YouTube, if you go to, like, recent or whatever, there's like 20 videos out. How he did it, how he broke 1:59.
He ran 4:30 pace for 26 miles at the end. I fucking hate that about YouTube. Like, how so-and-so did this. Reaction videos. Like, reaction to the 2 hour marathon. Like, that stuff is garbage. Like, it's such a waste of space.
Listen, I say this all the time. Like, I could have far more money if I chose to make that kind of content, but I never will. It's why at first I almost didn't want to do this show. I was like, oh, well, it's kind of like current topics and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's what everybody does. However, we have a unique style and a unique take, and fuck everybody. This is a great show. Okay. Is there anything else we need to say about that guy? I mean, the woman broke the women's in a real race, and so that's the one that should be celebrated.
Yeah, Bridget, I'm going to butcher her last name, Kosgei or whatever, Kosgei, whatever her name is. She actually broke a legitimate record running on a real course. Good for her. She should get the headlines, not fucking, perfect scenario Kipchoge over here.
1:59 Anodius, or whatever the thing was called.
Yeah, well, if he had to stop and drink his own water from a table, he would have missed it. So,
all right, let's move on.
Okay.
You ready for my age group hot take?
Yeah.
All right. I'm a 50-year-old man. By the way, I am almost a 50-year-old man, but I'm a 50-year-old woman, right? And I go and run a marathon, and I finish 15 minutes behind the winner of the marathon, who's like 22-year-old or 29-year-old or 32-year-old. And so I'm like, dude, like, for women my age, I did great, right? Because I'm 50. This is how it's originally started, was this masters category, which in some sports is 35, I think, or like really young, right? And I've decided that these are the acceptable awards. You win the race outright, you're over 50 years old, or you're like a teenager. If the guy who wins the race is 28 and you're 28, you kind of didn't win your age group, did you?
No, you didn't.
So should you be able to look it up on the web and you can sort by that? Sure. Should you be given awards? No. Now, by the way, I am someone who's won age group awards at a race and was thrilled, right? It's fun. You joke with your friends. Hey, I'm definitely going to do this race next year because I'm the winner, which is all the reasons they do it, right? But I've decided that if you won in the 25-year-old age group, you should not be celebrated because you're nowhere close to as fast as the winner who's the same age as you.
I mean, I don't disagree, Matt. I think, and I've been doing this ever since I realized that I am not fast enough to win a real podium in this sport, what I'm doing is comparing myself up against, gentlemen that are of similar age of me. So that's where I want to make sure for my fitness level, it's equal to or better than everybody else at the same point in their lives. So let's put all the cards on the table. We're talking about Spartan age group awards, right?
No, we're talking about all of them.
Anything. Okay.
5K,
right.
anything.
Okay. So any race, you don't believe that age group categories outside of overall winners and masters should exist?
Maybe teens.
Okay.
They're not quite developed yet. Rugged actually does this, by the way. Rugged does top 10 men and women and then top 10, 50 or over. And I'm fine with 40, by the way. You can make it 40 if you want, because 40, like, something happens in the body at 40.
Yeah, 40 used to be masters, right?
Right.
For Spartan? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm on both sides of this one because I want to battle for an age group podium. But you're right. An age group podium just means that I'm faster than the slowest half of people in our age group because the faster ones are racing elite, right? And are racing for the real podium. Yeah, I mean, age group podiums, they're not real. They're created by the brands in order to generate excitement for people that aren't the top echelon competitors, and gives them reason to come back, gives them reason to compete against their friends, and gives them reason to return as customers and keep paying because podiums, celebrated podiums.
Well, I think that's where this is coming from. I think it's some more podium backlash that I'm still reeling from because I see it, constantly, podium or near podium posts that are everywhere. And I mean, think about it. Every 5 years, it's really hard to, like, in certain races, it's hard not to be on the podium. You know what I mean? Like every 10 when they first started, this every 5 thing is nuts, right? And again, I've received them and been happy to get them. So I'm not saying so, but if they all went away tomorrow, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
No prizes. Well. You don't get prizes. You can look it up, sure, joke with your friends, but you don't get prizes.
Well, so prizes, you mean medals too?
Well, if you want to have the finisher medal, but like I said, I've probably got 1 or 2 up here, right? I've probably got where I was 2 of 7 or 3 of 6 or whatever it was, and I got the prize for it, or even 1 of 10. Maybe that. Maybe you get it if there's like a certain number. If 100 or more people run in your age group, then you can have one. How about that? Then you get a trophy. Yeah,
and I think one of the things that I kind of looked at this year is when Spartan hands out these age group medals. And I'll going to talk about OCR.
By the way, it was super smart for Spartan. Like, they should have done it a long time ago, right? They have absolutely kept some customers because of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously was a revenue play. Like we all know that 100%. But if you win an age group by default, right, because there's 3 people in your age group, that award should not exist.
Right, there should be like a minimum, just like in football, right? They're going to rate your QB rating, but you have to have a minimum, or a minimum number of at bats, right? Like, you can't be, if you go 4 for 4 in your first game, you can't retire as the best hitter of all time, right?
Right, and it sucks for the people that are in those positions where they do take OCR Worlds this past weekend. There was a single 40-plus-year-old woman to finish the 15K with her band on. One individual. There was no 45 to 49. There was no 50 to 55. Nobody 60 plus. One girl, right? To have that as an age group award, I don't know. I just don't know if, and it sucks for that person because there aren't enough competitors, right, to make it true competition.
That's almost the reverse. If she finished with her band, she should get an award because she's the only
Whoa, Matt. You can't just say you don't get an age group award, but now you want to give this girl some special recognition because she was the only one? You got to pick your side on this.
No. If there's only one who tries it, if she was the only one who showed up that day, then...
No, she wasn't the only one that showed up. She was just the only one that finished with her band on.
Right, but that's a different conversation. You finished with your band and nobody else did. Good for you. You actually did the obstacles. How are you looking at me so funny?
I think you're I don't know. I don't know. I kind of maybe I'll sort of concede on that one. But yeah, like, you know, if you're at a Spartan or a Savage, there's two parts of this. If you finish top 3 in your age group of 3, like, 1, you shouldn't get that award. I don't think that award should exist. But 2, why would you want to like brag about that award? Like, what does that mean?
Dude, but they do.
No, I know they do, and they're awful people. Like, I don't understand why you would want that and what that does for you. Like,
it gets even worse, by the way, Josh. Savage specifically, who I love. Many of my friends have won many of their awards. In Savage, there's a top 3 finish with your band. And then if you don't, you still make the top 3. You're not DQ'd. So
yeah.
there could be 3 women up there, right, in a certain age group. And I've seen this. And the second and third place women didn't even finish with their band, but they get to proudly like fucking podium it. And it's like, okay, so you did far worse than anybody in the elite field, and you didn't even do all the obstacles. So you were essentially a 3 of 3, right?
Yeah, it's a bad position to be in, because any change that you do to this current, you know, setup is going to be met with obvious negative reactions. So and again, it's just an unfortunate downside of the sport that we don't have enough competitors to actually, you know, put more people into these age groups to compete that way. Like, Spartan doesn't have the problem. The 35 to 39 wave at Spartan is fucking insane. Like, at Tahoe, there's hundreds of them.
But look at the 20-somethings.
I mean, there's a few, but they're not knocking down any doors. You generally don't get into the sport until you're in your 30s.
Right. So I'm saying if you win those early age groups, it's kind of easy. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, 100%. If you're 20 to 24 or whatever that age group, it's like 18 to 24, because they have to expand it because there's nobody doing it. Showing up, it gives you a 50% chance to be on the podium.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't like that.
All right. We just upset 37% of the audience.
Yeah, but you know what? If they're upset, it's because they're fragile-minded, and a take like this is like chipping away at this false ego that they've built up for themselves, that they are some, you know, amazing athlete because they've podiumed 12 times and they've run against 2 people every single time. Like, if you're upset by that, that's on you. It's not the take itself isn't upset. It's just a.
Do you think we can get Jazz to come out of retirement?
Didn't he already race? I mean, they announced a Stadium World Championship yesterday, so maybe he comes out of.
They did? Josh is so upset. I was very busy, Josh.
Matt, how do I manage to keep up with this stuff? And I wasn't even like on my device yesterday. I was on a focus group panel yesterday, actually. You saw the post, right? They put out the schedule.
The one with, it's got 1,000 dates on it. Yes.
Okay. I mean, did you happen to read it, or did you just saw it and were like, that's cool?
Well, I'll tell you offline what I'm working on, and then it'll make more sense why I didn't see it. But okay. I did see everyone bitching. Yeah. Actually, I did see that.
Yeah.
But I did see more than one person who looked at this 60+ race, and I counted 60+ races across the United States, right? Lot of moving parts. You're going to put on 60 races, and ladies and gentlemen, there are 52 weeks in a year, okay? And people still said, can't believe they scheduled the same day as blah, 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 multiple fucking times. Like, not in a vacuum of, hey, I heard that Spartan did X, which would be one thing. But looking at this fucking map, Josh, what's wrong with people?
One of our first shows, one of the conversations we had was about races intentionally scheduling their races to compete with other events. Matt wholeheartedly disagrees that races don't do this. Let me put another notch in the belt of the reason why this actually is a thing. The New Jersey Super has been, for the past several years, late October. This year, it's the first weekend of November because we fall in that weird section. OCR Worlds coming back to Stratton, first weekend of October, right? NORAM the past couple of years up in Stratton was the same as the Boston Super Weekend. And that, if you really wanted to get creative, you could do both of them, like run 15K in the morning, drive your ass down to Charlton, run the Super. Like, there were people that did it. Spartan says, nope, OCR Worlds is October 2nd, October 3rd. We're going to bring the New Jersey Super back earlier in the year. We're going to do October 2nd, October 3rd for that weekend, and we're going to make people choose. I wholeheartedly think they do it. Are they focusing on every race and every situation, saying, where can we fuck everybody? No. But I think if they have the opportunity to take a shot.
So you understand they have to then move the other 59 pieces.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't, because they have conflicting race weekends for multiple events anyway. There's 2 Midwest races on the same weekend that people could do both. So they don't have to. But if you can take a shot at another competitor by just moving a single race, and then sure, it might conflict with one of your others, but guess what? It doesn't. Like Tri-State New Jersey and Atlanta, like, conflict with each other, but they're both the same distance race, so it doesn't matter. So all I'm saying is somebody's thinking about it somewhere. Matt disagrees.
You do have to move the other pieces, Josh. You do have to move all the other pieces. How do you not?
Well, guess what? They're a multi-million-dollar company. They've got people that are doing those things. So
for a company that we often call inept, right? You think they're like, okay, logistically, what do we need to do to fuck OCR World Champions this year? What do we need to do?
No, that's not the conversation they're having.
What is the conversation they're having?
The conversation they're having is OCR Worlds is on a weekend. Can we move this race up? Yes or no? It's a simple, right? It's a simple practice.
They're going to have races every weekend. There's not a weekend that goes by with that there is not a race.
Sure there is. There's plenty of them. I'm looking right at them. 9/19. That's a race they don't have one. 10/10. That's a weekend they don't have one. Like, it's not, if you've got it easily organized like this, you can just as easily start moving the pieces around. Or they could have just moved it up because they didn't like the weather the last 2 years. Is that easier for you? Is that better?
Or the venue was not available at another race, and so it had to move these 2 other ones.
Okay. I disagree.
Let's say, for the sake of fucking argument, let's say I give you that one. I concede to OCRWC because they at least have like 4,000 people, right? And a pretty big overall weekend. Would you at least concede to me that they don't give a fuck what GBC or Bone Frog is doing?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
really
God, Josh. This show almost ended. This is almost the last ever episode of Davis and Chace.
Yeah, no, 100% on that.
I am going to make a phone call.
The only time would be okay.
I'm going to make a phone call. And I will get the answer on this. And if they're lying to me, I will say, Josh, they said no, but I think they're lying. Or depending on the answer, I'm going to give it, I'm slowly going up as I'm thinking about this. I'm giving it somewhere in the 4 to 10% range of actually happening. But I'm giving you 1,000% that they don't even know who fucking Bone Frog or GBC. Honestly, they like whoever has that job, like, seriously does not know. Like, if they had that job in 2013, they probably did, but they've probably gone through 7 staff members since then. They don't care about Savage. They don't care about GBC. They certainly don't care about Fit. Sorry, Rob. Love Rob. They don't care about Fit. Oh, boy. How about this? I watched the Race to a Million, pretending like you don't know what happened. But let's tell a story of something that happened a year ago. Like, the Race to a Million would have made more sense this year, I think. But my note says, I knew Josh was going to flip when Faye said real job. That's my note.
Yeah.
Did you just get an important Slack notification?
Sort of.
Does it say get out of there, Josh, and get back to work?
No. So I'm watching this documentary about the Race to a Million. It was okay. It was sort of produced okay. We'll talk about the jazz flute in a second.
Oh, jazz flute's on there.
I didn't, I only make this one comment. So they're interviewing Faye Stenning, right? And I'm going to put a pin in the whole Aaron Newell conversation. Let me make sure I come back to that in a second.
Okay.
So they're interviewing Faye Stenning. Faye Stenning is talking about having to perform at these races, right? I don't remember the context of what it was. But she said, she talked about like putting all this pressure on herself for a year or something like that. Like, there was so much pressure to perform. And the line was, and I'll probably, miss a word or two. If you don't perform well, if you don't win, your sponsors won't sign you and you won't be able to race and you'll have to get a real job. Like, fuck you. Right? That
I knew this was going to be a response.
The level of plight for like the abandoned Faye Stenning who doesn't get sponsors and has to get a real job. I don't give a shit, right? Most athletes that are running at the pro level have real jobs a lot of times anyway. So if you put that in there to like help build some drama or something that Faye may or may not win and might have to start flipping burgers to pay for her next race, I don't fucking care. Like, and that's, sorry that comes off harsh, but I would rather just have you build, this competition between athletes and talk about the history between athletes. And then I'll start to care. And then I'll start to pick sides on which athlete I want to follow and who I'm rooting for and who I'm not rooting for. Or more specifically now rooting against. Like, I almost want to see you lose so that you have to go get a real
Josh
job.
With the hottest of takes this morning. My goodness.
I'm sorry.
I'm probably going to lose a Patreon member or two over this.
Well, you only gained them because they wanted to listen to that drunken podcast anyway. So you got Podium Patreon members. That part aside, like,
they asked her questions and she gave an honest answer, which unfortunately was not one that put her in a great light. That's the truth. You and I both know that there's a lot of reality TV show going on where they get the bites that they want, right? Like, what are they going to say? Like, what do you think about John? Would you say he's your harshest competitor? Those kind of like leading questions. I mean, that's kind of what the world we live in. And that particular answer was an honest answer for her. She's like, I better perform, or, Timex and whoever else is sponsoring her is going to stop sending her checks. And then I might have to get a real job. Which I knew was going to make Josh flip his lid. And honestly, I didn't think it would make you flip your lid this much, but I'm so glad I asked. All cards on the table. I am in this documentary. I was asked to sort of set the table, as it were, and they actually used like all of it. I was asked to like contribute to this, and I was happy to do it. The interesting thing I will say is exclusive Davis and Chace. I can pull up that. Do you know that I created that soundbite, but now I lost it because it was on my old. I have this new computer. It was like breaking news. I actually did two takes. I did one where I said it was doable and one where I said it wasn't doable. The one that said it was doable. The $1 million.
Well, of course I'm going to go with that one. I liked how there was almost a little Davison. Oh, what did you say? Like this week on Obstacle Discourse or something like that?
That's the thing that's what's funny is that to establish me as an expert, he pulled an audio from the beginning of the show, and he could have pulled anything, but he pulled Davis and Chace, which was great. And then as other people noticed, that video, there's a video of me wearing a Tough Mudder shirt where I'm like, away we go. And it's like kind of just showing, here's Matt, Oxford expert. People are like, are you trolling Spartan? I'm like, no, that's what they chose. So there's a little behind the scenes for you, everybody.
All right. Can I continue my egotistical rant for a second?
Well, sure.
Okay. Have you listened to our friends at the other OD podcast? Did you listen to their most recent episode?
Obstacle Dominator?
Yeah, they took another shot at you.
Oh, boy. Okay. What is it this time?
So Bracken continues to call you, TMZ of OCR. But then he sort of said, this is a compliment. You're like 2019 TMZ, which is the TMZ news outlet that gets like requoted by CNN and Fox News and all that. Like you're sort of a respectable news outlet, but with a trashy undertaking. Like that was his compliment to you, I think. Hey, Bracken, if you're listening, Matt Davis isn't the only one on the show, so remember the name, motherfucker. So going back to the sponsor thing, Aaron and Nicole talked about.
I have a quick question for you though, Josh. Quick
Okay.
question. Have you ever consciously quit an Ultra Beast?
I have consciously quit 2 Ultra Beasts.
Oh, damn it. I thought you were going to be like timed out because that's slightly different.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could go ahead and make a joke that, our podcast has people that have completed 100% of their races this year, where their podcast has 100% of people that have failed races this year. But who would do that?
Like, hey, I'm cold. Let's stop. Good strategy.
I'm burping a little out of my stomach. I better get taken off the mountain.
I'm gonna kill this race right up to the part where I quit. Okay, moving on.
Yeah. Actually, mid-race, he went into the lodge and had to warm up and then was going to go back out and race again.
He pulled a Randy Moss? He pulled a Randy Moss?
Yeah, he went into the lodge mid-race because he was burping erratically. So
if you don't get the Randy Moss reference, if you're new to OCR, post in a group. Don't ask us. Just post in a group or Discord, what's the deal with Randy Moss, and they'll tell you. Josh just looked at his watch. He must have an important meeting to get back to.
No, I was just organizing my cable so it didn't tangle up.
Okay.
So the sponsorship thing, you're right in that, and you've talked about this in previous episodes and interviews, that like only certain athletes get treated certain ways and only certain athletes get certain sponsorships and things like that. And that's very apparent. Like Robert Killian is the golden boy. He gets all the sponsorships. Ryan Kent gets all the sponsorships while isn't necessarily on any top tier podiums. Like that's a little weird as well. But this is a little bit of a shot at Aaron. It's a little bit worse that Aaron constantly now brings up that he's not getting any sponsorships. Like, let your results do the talking and the sponsorships will come, but it's not going to happen overnight, right? Like, you had a great performance at NORAMs. You had a great performance at Tahoe, OCR Worlds. I don't think that weekend was good for anybody. So the sponsorship thing will come, but like, stop bringing it up, because then when it happens, it won't be as good for you, and it won't be as good for the people that follow you as well.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I like Aaron as a person. I like him. I think Aaron is phenomenal for OCR. We need a little bit more trash talk. We need a little bit of fun, right? We don't get near enough. Even Woodsy and Atkins, who I love, right? And who have showed how fun they are, they still do think like professional athletes and don't say everything they feel publicly.
100%. Is
Aaron Newell going to get sponsors when he's like, suck my dick if you think Atkins is a cheater? I mean, I don't think Yokohama Tire is going to be on board with that. So
this is great, because also our friends at the other podcast went off and had a PSA that said, nicer to every social media if we want to be taken seriously from here on out. So give your social media to a manager and let them do it, and don't do any of the personal stuff. That's what Bracken said. Bracken said that these athletes need to be nicer on their social media. They need to be less about drama and like trash talk, and they need to be more professional, because that's how other sports athletes do it.
All right. Well, now we're getting a super hot take corner. Super hot take corner, Josh.
Okay.
Woo! And I know you'll understand this, because you'll understand this. So, I remember going back 10 or 15 years, way before, like not nearly as bad as it is now, right? The dollar values that are through the roof, right? We used to joke, we used to say billionaires, arguing with millionaires on the athlete versus owner thing. And now certain athletes are billion-dollar brands, right? I mean, would it be safe to say that LeBron James is a billion-dollar brand? Like, I'm not saying he has that much in the bank, but everything he puts his name to.
Yeah.
And now they are all in on doing that. It's not just let me open a used car dealership, which is what they used to do. It's the second they get signed, we need a logo, we need a shoe. It's a whole fucking thing. Everybody is scared to say shit. So even 15 years ago, I remember seeing this documentary with Kevin McHale, and he said, I really liked it when we hated the fucking Lakers. I liked it when we hated the Pistons. He's like, now everyone has the same agent, and everyone's hugs and kisses all the time. This is 15 years ago, right? Now, forget it. If you ask Tom Brady or any athlete pretty much to take a stand on anything, they're not saying boo, with an exception of the NBA. The NBA is, and ignore the China stuff right now. That's another story. So just stay with the current NBA up until China recently. LeBron and a few of these guys were actually willing to say something, right? They did a thing with Trayvon Martin, and they were kind of like the hip league that athletes were actually willing to say something. So you think LeBron lost sponsors when he said, when they took a picture with their hoodies up, don't shoot? Like, no, they didn't. So you've got to be smart. But if somebody was smart, if somebody was like, we're the brand that fucking sticks the middle finger up to fucking whatever, you would pick Aaron Newell as your athlete. Now he's got to get on a few more podiums, but I think the right brand wants to align with the bad boy, air quotes. Your thoughts, Josh Chace? I just talked for 10 minutes.
No, sorry. I completely agree. I think there's a space in every industry for, the polished, PR-friendly, handsome spokesperson and the loud-mouthed, right, trash-talking with a level of respect, right? There's ways to do that kind of stuff, and then there's, the suck my dick if you think doing proper burpees line might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think there's spaces for both, because if it's just the first person out in the industry, it's boring as fuck. So I think you need a little attitude, you need a little persona, for lack of a better comparison. You need The Rock in WWE, right? I hate wrestling and I hate all that fakeness, because I know Aaron Newell isn't fake in some of his opinions. Matt just double taked when I said wrestling was fake. Oh my God. But yeah, I think there's a position for everybody here.
Josh.
What is that whistling? I don't know, I just heard like a.
I think maybe my mouth stopped working. Josh, yeah. I'm gonna fly to New England, okay, and take you to a WWE event in the Civic Center. Okay.
It's the Dunk now. It's the Dunkin' Donuts Center.
Which one is it? Which one?
Providence Civic Center. It's not the Dunkin' Donuts Center.
Of course it is. We're gonna sit close, okay? And you're gonna tell me these aren't some of the finest athletes you've ever seen.
They're gymnasts or acrobats. They're not athletes.
We're gonna sit close, and we're gonna talk about this.
Okay.
I like it when we disagree on stuff, though. Like sometimes we'll fight in Discord, and then we come on the show and we agree on everything. So I forgot what else we disagreed on. I think the dates. The dates thing is one. But do you want to talk about jazz flutes?
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about jazz flutes. But just to give context, the next time you go watch the Spartan Race to a Million documentary, if you've watched it once, go back and watch it. And you don't have to watch it for long. You'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't watched it, I'm sorry for ruining it, because this is going to ruin it for you. Just listen to the music in the background that they chose for this. And there is so much jazz flute happening. And I can't think of a less appealing instrument to back the sport of obstacle course racing than the jazz flute. But for some reason.
Listen, I want to say that I know that show is decent, and it's not just because I'm in it for 30 seconds. It's because I actually finished it. I've never finished a Spartan race narrated by Megiddo and Donahue, and I actually watched this whole show. I mean, it took me a couple times because I had to stop and come back to it, but I actually watched the whole thing and I liked it.
I have not watched the whole thing yet, so that's only because time is not allotted me. It did, I was watching it, so.
All right, we are approaching an hour. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of, man.
All right. Well, spoiler alerts, I am talking to the two Ryans in a couple of hours. It's our post-Tahoe chat, and watch out. If I catch Woods in the right mood, who knows what he'll say.
That's timely. You have to ask Woods. I heard that they delayed the start of the Pro 15K wave specifically because of Ryan Woods this past weekend. So ask him that question. I want to know the story behind that.
Wait a minute. Wait, what?
all I overheard was that Adrian said to Ryan Woods, "We delayed the start because of you," and I just want to know the story behind it.
Okay, I'll make a note right now.
Write it down.
We delayed 15K start Woods.
Um,
I'm gonna take us off record unless you want to say something else.
No.
All right.